Hello and welcome to the KSW Painting Euro V8 Supercar Series live on Apex Racing TV. I'm Sam Fitzpatrick and this evening I'm joined alongside by Marco Barbonet and we're here at the Zolder circuit for rounds 11 and 12 of this season. And Marco, so far we've seen a very competitive championship. We saw a fantastic round at Nürburgring, one of the best rounds we've ever seen in this series. And I think this competitive field, once again, hopefully, we're going to see that same tension replicated today.
Yeah, absolutely. Hello, Sam. Hello, everyone. This is a track that will really put these drivers to the test. Tight, lot of chicanes, lot of hard braking zones. So you theoretically can go for a pass. You know, Nürburgring is usually known for being tough for overtakes. Here you have the big braking zones, but you also have a lot of chicanes, a lot of hairpins, and they are narrow. So if you want to pass an opponent, you have to muscle your way through, your rivals, and using these very narrow surfaces you want to make the overtake. So the quick drivers are hoping for a good qualifying, and then they are also hoping for a small reverse for race 2, because passing, like we said, is going to be absolutely tough around here.
Yeah, we better get a big reverse in this series because we're due one. I swear every single reverse we've had so far this season has been minimal. We've had reverse grids of 6 and 8 with a 17 car field out there. Hopefully we're going to see something a little bit bigger this evening. Of course, also the curbs, absolutely difficult round this circuit. Like I said, so many chicanes, it is going to be very difficult to overtake in the championship. I believe the points on your screen will be the total points in that championship. It's actually a 1-2 for Never Quit Racing, Tony Kluseman ahead of his compatriot Chris Jackson. Then it's Nicole Foggy and Richard Waring, Johnny Brandon and Michael Abdoka. But with the drop score, Brandon's leading. He's followed by Foggy and then Abdoka and then Klusterman, and then Jackson, and then Warmingham. So pretty much, there's barely any correlation currently. I'm assuming those points are correct. Quite incredible how there's that variance. But of course, the two XBR drivers of Foggy and Brandon have, on the most part, dominated so far this season. However, Brandon, of course, couldn't take part in last week's Nürburgring race. And Foggy, I believe, got pretty much a no score at Imola earlier on in the season. I think Evdoka missed a round as well. So plenty of difficulties for plenty of the drivers. Maybe gives Kluseman and Jackson an opportunity due to the fact that they really haven't had any really bad showings, no kind of disqualifications or DNF so far this season. As we just enter the final minute and a bit in this qualifying session. It is currently very close amongst the top drivers. But yeah, we are kind of reaching the halfway point in the season, Marco. And I did say before this season, Tony Kluseman is going to win the championship. Well, he needs to start playing in some good results if he's going to prove me correct.
Well, it's what we were expecting. All the great names at the top of the field, they are all in the hunt for the championship. You are absolutely right about what happened to Johnny and to Michael. To Johnny and to Nicole, of course. Nicole Foggy missing race 2 at Imola, and that, of course, is not ideal. And the same goes for Johnny Brandon, missing the entire round at the Nürburgring due to a hardware failure right before the start of the session, basically. Nice to have him back on the track. Johnny Brandon, who just got the provisional pole, and Nicole Foggy is trying to best his teammate as he goes across the start-finish line. Will he get a chance to do another lap? Because this one is not going to cut it, as we have a fantastic camera shot, thank you iRacing, of the grandstand here. Foggy is in second, Kluserman is in third. Other drivers coming through. We have Anthony Woodward coming to the final chicane. So easy to get an off track there at the final chicane. You can cut a bit there, but not too much, of course. And look how narrow it is, even in the start-finish line, Sam. if something goes wrong there, we might, hopefully not, but we might witness a big pileup.
Yeah, potentially. We saw a fantastic round, I believe, in the BSR Porsche series a few months back. And yeah, I think there are a few issues similar to that through the day. By the way, Marco, of course, our followers won't know what I'm about to say, but just add 2 to the room name, I think. I think that will just having a couple of issues with our live timing currently. They're just trying to address that, but just 1 minute to go now with the drivers just sorting out their final lap times now. As actually, the live time just worked all of a
Yes.
sudden, so there you go. Did you change the room name?
I know my tricks, let's put it this way.
Ah, okay, you just turned it off and on again. Of
More or
course,
less.
everyone realizes that's what you just did there. As Philip Antonia just approaching the line and takes that very unusual pit entry. It's really tight down there.
Yeah, very
And,
important that you say this, because in race 2 there will be a pit stop as Foggy is running around, but clearly this lap won't count. Race 2 there will be a pit stop if these guys want to go to the end of the race, and it's going to be very, 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 very tricky. And here we go, I think, with the starting grid.
Yep, we can go through the starting order for you, and it's Johnny Brandon taking pole position by 1/10 of a second over his XVR sim racing teammates Nicole Foggy. Tony Kleesman lines up on the second row of the grid ahead of Victor Tanaka, George McClay, and Michael Dockett, the 2 Fitstyle Motorsport Gyrostar in 5th and 6th, with Chris Jackson a little bit ailing. In fact, he set the identical lap time to Docker. Rare that you see that to the 1,000th. 6th and 7th, those 2. Then it's Stadler, Croft, and Warmingham. Rounding out the top 10 behind that is Woodward, Bogotayev, Antonia Whiting, Bingham, Frost, and Bill Switzer. Rounding out this 17-car field. And we should very soon be underway. What can we expect from this one, Marco? You already talked about how it can be quite difficult to overtake around this circuit. It's going to be difficult to kind of mess up the order from the race start.
Yes, absolutely. I think first corner will be crucial, and more than that, this chicane here that we are watching right now, the first chicane, it will be absolutely crucial. You don't want to go too wide there. I mean, you can go too wide, but it's not recommended, because there is no space for 2 cars, and if you go a little bit too wide, you get a big slowdown. You jump on that curve that you said before is so high, and you risk damaging your car. So really, people will have to use their heads today if they want to survive the first lap in both races, as we are just waiting for Victor Tanaka, Peter Bingham, now Bill Switzer. Only Bill Switzer missing. No, we are ready to go.
Yep, here we go. Round 11 of the UMB8 Supercar Series. And away we go at Zolder. Looks to be a pretty good start, I think, for Brandon. Should be able to fend off the leaders. There's a car into the wall, and that was Hal Stadler getting involved in that one. I'm not sure if he was the original car who got spun round. Also, Clyde Whiting as well. So it's an awful start for those 2 drivers, as Brandon leads them round the first few corners. Kleesman actually got ahead of Foggy. Yeah, got ahead of Foggy then. So not a good start whatsoever for Nicole, with Tanaka warming him up 4 places. It's Evdoka a little bit in the walls as well. Maybe he was involved in that one. But you see how many drivers have got involved in that crash, because there's a big gap between about 6th and 7th.
Absolutely, and that was what we were fearing, sadly. Many drivers involved. There is a car that is completely destroyed. That, I think, it's Clyde Whiting. Yes, you can see the damage on his car as the leaders. You are right in pointing it out. There is a big gap between basically the first, let's say, 7 cars. Philip Antonia is running up this 7-car lead pack, and all of the rest, of course, drivers had to stop, drivers had to take avoiding action, and sadly some drivers were involved in the collision. And so I think the key for them will be get in, fast repair, and try to stay on the lead lap, as Anthony Woodward has taken a tow to the pits.
Yep, so hopefully, like you said, he'll stay on the lead lap. Otherwise, he won't be eligible for the reverse grid later on. So 1 lap completes in the books, and it's Johnny Brandon leading the way ahead of Tony Klusman, Nicole Foggy, Victor Tanaka, George McClay, and Richard Warmingham. And Philip Antoni up 6 positions. Michael Abdogger having to come into the pit, so he'll get that fast repair, and he'll just be hoping for a big reverse grid later on. He might be a big danger when that comes about, but you can see it's a long pit lane here at Zolder, and yeah, he's losing a lot of time with that. It's Klusman and the big pressure from Foggy, keeping in touch with Brandon, but sometimes we just see some mistakes creep into Tony's driving. We saw he was so robust at Nürburgring. Fantastic performance from him there. But he needs to absolutely not make a mistake, and is that going to be a slowdown? He might lose the position anyway as they go over the crest. Who's going to win out of this one? Foggy looks to the inside, but Klusman repels the attack. And I don't quite know how that wasn't a slowdown there, Marco. You pushed that one right to the limit, and it was a slowdown. Yeah. In fact, and he's going to have to give up at least 2 or 3 or 4 or maybe even 5 positions here. Turning Klusman from 2nd position, and he's dropped down into 5th now.
Yes, and you can see on the bottom of your screen how many drivers had to take to the pit lane. There's a guy sideways, it's Tony Klusterman again. And now he's under pressure from Richard Warmingham as they go into the final chicane. Warmingham smartly not forcing the issue. As soon, I don't know when, the situation calms down, we will have a replay of the start. So now it's XVR, just like at the start of the race. And now Foggy is under pressure from Tanaka. We know a driver that always likes to push the envelope. Is not afraid to send the car, trying to make an overtake. Always puts on a show for us. And now, of course, Foggy has a big target on his back because the NQR USA driver is right behind him.
Yeah, doing really well at the moment is Tanaka, one of his most competitive showings in this season. We just cannot find a way past Foggy at the moment. Might be worth just staying behind him. They are closing in on Brandon, who I think has just picked up a slowdown. In fact, all of a sudden going a little bit slowly. He was about 2.5 seconds ahead at one point. Yeah, he was 2.1 seconds ahead across the line. Gap's now down to 1.4 seconds. So Brandon just picked up a slowdown. Shows how easy it is for these drivers. And yeah, how much of a difficulty it is for them to be error-free for the entire race. Got a very close battle between Switzer and Bogotyrev currently going on. Those two separated by about 0.4 of a second. That's the battle for 9th and 10th position. And also got pretty close fights in between Whiting and Stadler currently.
Yes, these are all drivers that were involved in that first lap problem, as Switzer and Bogotyrev still going at it. I think that Bogotyrev has a good run coming out of the score, but not easy to... The straight there is a little bit too short, I think, as Foggy gets the fastest lap of the race, 30.4. Brandon has a 31.2, so you were absolutely right, Sam. He is slowing down just a little, maybe because of an off-track slowdown there. Blocking the brakes is Switzer, and they are side by side. Bogotyrev has the outside. Switzer smartly doesn't force the issue, and Bogotyrev gets the position. Stadler trying to do the same with Whiting. They are still on the lead lap, but you see how far behind they are. Let's bring the track map on your screen, and you can see the red number 1 is the leader, and there are some drivers that are already 1 lap down. Chris Jackson, I think, has not exited the pits yet. So, and Gary Croft also, I think, and Anthony Woodward are 1 lap down, I think.
Yeah, so disappointing for those drivers. Yeah, hopefully we'll see Jackson back for race 2, but I understand why he's maybe a little bit frustrated. We will go back to that that starts in a moment, I think, just whilst this one carries on going. Because Stadler looks as though he could make a move very soon and wide. Stadler was so strong in qualifying, put it up in the top 8, in fact, did Stadler. He was right on the tail of the likes of Warmingham. I mean, I think Warmingham's currently in 6th position. Could have certainly been there or thereabouts, Stadler. So he ought to make this move, really, against Whiting, who only qualified in 14th place, but just shows the difficulty of overtaking here, especially in this V8 supercar. Just got such a concertina effect in this car. You always get on the power so much later than your rival, all about just setting up the car, and a driver ahead can just always pull away a little bit, and the slipstream effect isn't too strong either. But
Oh,
Stadler's
big
really close,
Switzer.
as Switzer has a big off into the gravel and a full 180 as well. That may have been a collision with Michael Frost, I believe.
Let's get a replay of that super quickly, as it was in the second corner. So coming out of turn 1, he gets 2 wheels on the dirt there. Here comes the Ford on the inside of Michael Frost. No, he just brakes on the grass. I have to be honest, it looked like a much more violent off when we first switched cameras.
Looked like he was flying off the circuit, didn't it?
Exactly, it was let's get a replay of the start. From the chopper, this is Chris Jackson.
So that's a Docker on his outside then.
Oh.
I think... Well, it's a racing incident, isn't it, Marco? At least I would say. A little bit more room could have been given by everyone.
Let's get another view from the TV cameras. Yeah, I mean, it's so tightly packed. It just takes one driver to move slightly out of their line, and then you can see everything happening. We also had Gary Croft flipping there. Let's go back to the lead of the race, because Foggy has managed to pull away from Tanaka, and Brandon back to a decent pace, 30.7. He was the fastest of the top runners, fastest of everyone in this last lap. And also, of course, while we were showing the replay, because it always goes like this, Harald Stadler went past Clyde Whiting. Here is the replay. Gotta tell these drivers to make the moves while we are showing them on camera, you know? Easy move there at the hairpin. Clyde not forcing the issue there.
Yeah, that was nice car positioning there, and both drivers a lot of mutual respect. He can move on to his next victim there, Kinsella, although he's 18 seconds behind Abdoka, who's about to get past Bill Switzer. Those two, I think, about to move alongside one another. In fact, as you see Abdoka down the inside, this could be tight. Of course, the driver was involved in that first lap shunt, but he just has to back out of it for now, trying to line up the car. This is where we saw the move a couple of laps ago, and he looks to the inside of Switzer, big braking zone into the hairpin, and Michael Abdoka will make that one with ease, and he's up now into 11th position. He's got 7.5 seconds to catch up to Peter Bingham, so he should be able to do that one. Might even get Michael Frost as well for 9th position, who really gets a move on. So, should, well, I'd say guarantee his place on the reverse grid. Nothing certain we have a reverse grid as small as 6 cars in this series, but certainly bettering his chances. And if he does get a reverse grid of 10 drivers, then he'll be right in the box seat for race 2.
You are his team owner, so maybe you know something that I don't know about the reverse wheel. I haven't gotten any bribe money so far, so better make that quick.
Don't worry, the funds have come in. No worries about that.
Foggy closing in on Brandon in this lap. Now gap 0.8 seconds. You can see on the bottom right side of your screen, as we are getting closer to the halfway mark of this race. 19 laps scheduled for race 1. This will be a sprint to the finish. Like we said, race 2, not only the reverse, but also we will have a mandatory pit stop. As yeah, it seems to me like Foggy has more pace than Brandon. Look how much he gained in these first couple of corners. A couple of tenths shaved off by Foggy. I don't know how hard they will fight. I know they are free to fight, of course, and they are on the radio with each other during the races. I think that Foggy definitely has more pace, so let's see what happens.
Yeah, I think so. I think it's maybe just going to be a mistake potentially from Brandon. As he sees, not enjoying that chicane too much. Again, losing a couple of tenths of a second there just through the loss of traction when bouncing over the curb. But this is where it gets difficult for Foggy to actually make the overtake. Because, yeah, it's one thing to catch, one thing to overtake. 2.5 seconds now clear of the rest of the field. They are absolutely dominating out here right now. And how many times have we seen this situation this season? Because there was a last lap move, I believe, by Foggy on the last lap at Le Mans against Brandon. But apart from that, we haven't really seen them go wheel to wheel too much. Admittedly, they haven't made too much contact either, but with the seemingly overspeed of Foggy, surely he's going to be desperate to make that move very, very soon. The gap across the line, 1/4 of a second. So, where will he make his move? 19 laps in this race, of course. Still got 11 more to go, just under 11 to go. So, yeah, this is looking pretty good for Foggy right now because he really has eased up to the back of his teammate in just a matter of laps.
Exactly. I mean, 0.3 of a second now. You saw the gap on the right side of your screen lap by lap just a few seconds ago. And he's coming down very, very quickly. I don't know. I mean, they were pretty similar in qualifying pace, and that was expected from what we saw in the practice times. In the week, all the top drivers were very, very close. I think 1/10 of a second between Brandon and Foggy in qualifying, but now race pace-wise, Foggy seems to be on another level, and I'm expecting a move from Foggy sooner rather than later. Also considering that due to what our secret informer Tony Klusterman said to us, around lap 15 the tires really start to fall down. But of course in this first race there is no way you can change them. You lose too much time. So after lap 15 we might start to see more mistakes from the drivers.
Yeah, you can imagine around all these chicanes, slow speed corners, how much how much the rear tires can really degrade around this circuit. Got so many traction zones. Really do load up those tires quite a bit. The track temperature out there is 24 degrees, so quite cool, and that's going to definitely be helping these tires a lot. So may not be so much of an issue in this first race. Of course, the race later on will have a later iRacing time of day, so will be a little bit warmer. Could definitely be more of an issue. As Foggy now within 0.3 of a second. There's absolutely no chance down here, but it's just about forcing his teammate into a mistake. And once again, well, in the end, they're both making small mistakes, but it's down to just 1/10 of a second. Is Foggy going to go for it this time into the chicane? But that turn, which in this V8 Supercar can be quite difficult, it certainly is a turn in this V8 Supercar, unlike maybe a prototype or a single-seater. And that's just not an opportunity at the moment for him, but he's giving himself half opportunities.
Yes, I think if this wasn't his teammate, he would have gone maybe for it there, but I mean, he had a good exit there, as Tony Klusterman is having some trouble, more than some trouble, and he's in the wall there, losing one spot to Richard Wormingham, and going very, very slowly with some damage to the front of his car. And Philip Antonia goes by as well. Let's see what happened.
We're certainly going to have to get the fast repair for this incident. Wow.
Once again, a replay. You see, he had a little bit of a tank slapper there, and then no way that he could recover. And that was a pretty significant hit as Michael Evdoka gets by Michael Frost. So up to P9 is Evdoka after that first lap crash. Tony Klusterman is in the pits to get his fast repair. He should remain on the lead lap. And at the front, the situation remains the same with the two Fords of the XVR team, Brandon and Foggy, leading the way. Foggy losing a little bit of touch there to Brandon, but nothing major. So see how they slide coming out of that chicane. I mean, this is why the tires get destroyed. I think 15 laps in. I think that especially with this car that is, you know, known for destroying the tires, even when it's in an ideal situation. But if you have to slide those tires coming out of the corners, and especially knowing iRacing tires, how they work, Sam. Really, this is why I think we will see drivers on sideways more often than not starting from lap 15 onwards.
Yeah, I think so. Just comparing lap times, third and fourth on the third and fourth are getting more competitive. Tanaka and McClay really closing in on one another, only a second between each other now, and they're starting to match the leaders' times because they are 3.5 seconds behind. So it's going to be difficult for them to catch by the end of the race. But maybe they're maintaining their tyres slightly better than the front two. We've seen Brandon slide all over the place, which is quite rare for him. He's usually quite kind of contained. Is Brandon quite well managed? So once again, he takes a lot of that second curb. Gets away with it.
Let's see how he slides coming out of this chicane, and also Foggy behind him, locking the brakes. Listen to the tires squealing. Let's see how Tanaka and McClay take it. Little bit more conservative, I'd say, but still very, very tough on the tires. But you're right, the pace is quite good from P3 and P4. As Peter Bingham is having some issues. I think he went a little bit wide there in the second corner. And back to the lead.
Had contact with Tony Klosterman. I'm not quite sure. I guess it would have come up already if there was contact between the two of them. It's just Klosterman was quite close. And maybe this is how it happened. Did Klosterman just scare him off the road? No, he scared him off the line.
Yeah.
So fair enough. Klosterman letting, Bingham letting past his teammates. Are they teammates?
Yes.
Yes, there you go. NQR UK, of course, and NQR North America. As it's getting close. Klosterman comes straight past. That seems to be the best overtaking opportunity for the drivers out there. So he's now got no drivers between himself and Michael Evdoka. But I doubt he's going to be able to close that gap of about 6 seconds.
Brandon very, very slow. Maybe a slowdown there coming out of the first chicane. Foggy's on the inside. And he takes the lead.
Yeah, great move there from Nicole Foggy. So clearly a mistake there from Brandon, because he was looking pretty comfortable through those first few corners of this lap. But a mistake from Johnny Brandon there. Yeah, it's just taking way too much first curb, knocked him off balance, and really couldn't defend as they go side by side once again. A mistake maybe this time from Foggy, but he's defending the middle of the circuit. No chance for Brandon to come back here as they almost make contact into the final chicane they go. This is properly heating up now between the two teammates, the two favourites for the championship, of course. But Foggy fending off the reigning champion. And, well, now we wait to see if he can really break from his teammate or whether these two are going to stay glued together to the end of the race.
Yes, I think that, I mean, if Foggy keeps the pace that he was having up until one lap ago, he can run away from his teammate, or at least pull up a little bit of a gap, because there's not too much time left. But still, this track, you're always prone to making mistakes, and you pay for them dearly, especially considering how close these two guys are. And this chicane, man, it's absolutely, I think, one of the, I wouldn't say worst because it's not fair, I say one of the toughest chicanes in all of iRacing. There are many ways to get it wrong and only one way to get it right.
I'd say the worst chicane has got to be that one at Imola. The one with the really high curbs. I think just due to its frustratingness, that it's not an overtaking spot. It ruins the racing. No one likes it. It's not a fun corner. But Brandon, well, he's not enjoying too many of these corners right now, because you can see, once again, just squirmishing under acceleration and locking up the front brake as well. Maybe just over pushing, I think, now, Mark. I think he's trying to keep up with his teammate, but Foggy just seems to have a little bit too much, and maybe he's preserved those tyres ever so slightly better, enabling him to just have that extra optimize pace.
Seems so. Also, now that the overtake has been done, the lap times are definitely improving for Foggy, and he lapped faster than Brandon, of course, but also faster than Tanaka and McClay in this last lap. So, pulling away now that he has, free track in front of him, and Brandon still quicker, than Tanaka, and McClay as.
Oh wow! So I thought he was
wow.
going to cut the chicane there.
That was super close. I think it's not a slowdown. I'm looking at the relative in the bottom right of the screen. Seems to be okay. So big risk there for Nicole Foggy, but he seems to have gotten away with it, as the gap is 0.7 of a second stable for the time being. And this, I think, right now the only proper battle on the racetrack. Tanaka.
Well, I think
is there.
One might be brewing between Bogotayev and Evdoka, if Evdoka can catch him in time. Because Evdoka's now 4.5 seconds behind. That last lap, he closed in by 2.5 seconds. And they've still got a few more laps to go. This is lap 15 out of 19. So still got 4 more to go after this one is complete. So yeah, it should quite comfortably catch up to Bogotayev. And well, I've seen Evdoka slice through the field with ease so far. Might even, contain Klinsmann 7 seconds further behind. I doubt that's going to happen. Certainly certainly Evdoka looking good for a top 7. And he'd be super unlucky if he didn't get the reverse grid if he finished in 7th place.
Looking at the gap between Bogotayev and Evdoka, on lap 10 it was 11.7 seconds. Right now, lap 16, it is 4.3 seconds. And dropping, so I think you are right, Sam. Evdoka will have the chance to make a move on the 555 Nikolai Bogotayev, as another lap goes in the books for Evdoka, and also for Foggy. 3.8 seconds the gap at the line, so definitely closing in on Bogotayev is the season 4 champion. I'm starting to forget the numbers.
Been going for a while, this championship. What, 3 years? Of course, I came in for season 4. Start of season 4, pretty much. You came in midway through season 4, or near the tail end of season 4, admittedly. But feels as though we've got a decent understanding of the series. Of course, Tony Klinsmann, winner of seasons 1 and 2. And then, unfortunately, had a bit of an injury in real life in season 3, which perhaps denied him the championship against Taliancic, as Bogotayev has a big off. And Klinsmann, oh dear, and he's going to make another mistake, and this is going to invite Klinsmann in on the battle. There is the Never Quit Racing driver. And, a rare mistake there from Bogotayev, usually Mr. Reliable. But maybe just pushing too hard, trying not to allow that gap to drop too much, and... yeah, that was a bit of an odd one there, Marco, for him to kind of lock up the rear brakes quite so late in the braking zone. Yeah,
and he almost beached himself on the curb, and now losing the position to Evdoka, maybe, yes, losing the position also to Tony Klusterman. So 7th and 8th are Evdoka and Klusterman. Like you said, 2 former champions, and now for Bogotayev is down to P9, leading the club championship race, the yellow banner cars, is Michael Frost in P10 for slow motion racing, and in 2nd place in that class it's Peter Bingham. Here he is, just behind him in P11, and Clyde Whiting and Gary Croft. Of course, the race for the club championship race the race for the club championship class has been severely impacted by that big crash at the start.
Yeah, absolutely. But yeah, still Frost leading Bingham, as Bingham has a bit of an issue, does he? Because all of a sudden Stadler's got very close to the back of him, and also Switzer and Whiting are very close, as through goes Stadler.
Yeah.
So he made that one pretty easy.
Event viewer not showing anything unusual, but the pace has certainly dropped, and already Stadler is pulling away from Bingham. So maybe a miscalculation on the fuel, or maybe he's sporting some damage from earlier and now he's finally caught up to him. A guy that really is having no issues whatsoever, Nicole Foggy at the front, pulling away 2.7 seconds over Johnny Brandon, really not getting phased by his teammates and rival pole position, because he was able to, you know, catch him, chasing him. He chased him, he caught him, and then he went on to lead the race. And I mean, a word for Victor Tanaka. He's having, I think, his best race since he came back to the series.
Yeah, I think so. He's now within 2 seconds of Johnny Brandon, which is super impressive. I think Brandon either made a mistake on that last lap or probably more likely picked up a slowdown. So that's really, yeah, sets him back further. But I don't think Tanaka's going to quite catch at the end of this one. Still, could be a very good pick for race 2, and certainly a race win at some point in this season. Certainly looking very likely for him. Also, George McClay, of course, who's just keeping on improving as Stadler now. He's going to gain another position, is he? They're both a little bit out of control on the brakes. That was a good curb take there, I must say, from Michael Frost. He's been able to carry a lot of speed through the corner. He's got 1.5 laps to defend against his rival. Still going to finish top. Oh, is that off the circuit? It is, and he's going to lose the club lead as well to Peter Bingham. So a mistake there from Michael Frost, just pushing too hard, trying to defend. And, well, he's never going to make that corner, really.
Yeah, let's see the replay of that. Also, he braked a little bit on the grass, but yeah, it was too late regardless. Too bad, because he was really putting on a show. This battle was very, very nice, and I'm wondering if one day we might see one of these guys flip their car because they took a curve too hard, because that was absolutely some massive, massive hang time for Michael Frost there. Nicole Foggy has only a couple of corners left.
Yeah, dropped down into 3rd position upon the race start. Had to close in on his teammate by 2.5 seconds. But Nicole Foggy is going to close the championship lead here at round 11 of the championship. He comes to the line and he wins race 1 at Zolder. The XVR driver back on the top step of the podium. It's a XVR 1-2 with Victor Tanaka rounding out the podium. George McClay will be 4th, and Richard Warmingham rounding out the top 5. And also got quite a close battle between Whiting and Switzer. Here they are, and they've still got a lap to go pretty much. Yeah, yes. This is, well, we get to indulge ourselves in this battle for about 2/3 of a lap. It's been Switzer really close to Whiting for a while. Although, actually, no, sorry, Whiting got past Switzer on the last lap. Apologies. Oh, and Switzer, well, he saved that one well. Toupe can crash, and no, he won't count as being on the lead lap. So he's got to cross the line. As Michael Frost having a bit of an issue here. Is he low on fuel, or is he being generous, maybe? Taunting his rivals. I think he's going to be okay.
He is giving us a glimpse at his fantastic livery. I mean, not only he drives a Ford, but also he has this Picasso-esque livery. I absolutely love it. And now Switzer put under pressure by Gary Croft for the final spot, because Woodward and Jackson have been out of the race for a while. Switzer keeps P14, P15 will be Gary Croft, and the winner, of course, Nicole Foggy. He should be somewhere. Here we go. And both he and his teammate get the slow motion shot that has been missing for a while here on Apex Racing TV. And now, Sam, we can go through the race results for race 1.
Yes, and it's Nicole Foggy winning the race by 3.7 seconds over his teammate Johnny Brandon. Victor Tanaka rounding out the podium, only 6 seconds off the leading. A great effort from him. George McClay just dropped off in the closing stages, but still will be strong for race 2 in 4th. Richard Warren was a bit of a quiet 5th, along with Philip Antonia. Both of those guys had fantastic starts after the pile-up. Michael Abdoka was involved in that pile-up, still recovered to 7th place, and undoubtedly one of the favourites for race 2, as long as we get a decent size reverse grid. Also will be strong will be Tony Klusman, who finished in 8th there. Nikolai Bogotyrev, after a mistake, finished in 9th. Harold Stadler, good recovery drive from him in 10th. Peter Bingham was in 11th, with Michael Frost in 12th. Then it was Clyde Whiting, Bill Switzer, and Gary Croft rounding out the finishers. Woodward and Jackson unfortunately had to retire from the race. So Marco, yeah, it's the reverse grid, and I've said it a couple of times. I want it to be a big reverse grid because I think that will, as long as it's 8 or more, gives Abdulka and Klusman a chance. I think we could be in for a good race. Maybe even make it 10. Give Harold Stadler a chance as well.
There are 15 drivers eligible for this reverse grid, so everyone apart from Woodward and Jackson, and the reverse wheel should be on your screen right now. Yes, here we go, and let's roll it. I really like the Euro V8 wheel, by the way. It looks like a casino-style roulette. Here we go. Let's roll it. So let's see if the trend continues or not. Well. It's going to be a 9-car reverse. So Bogotyrev will get the pole, and Tony Klusterman in second, Evdoka, Antonia Wormingham, McClay Tanaka, Brandon and Foggy. These are the drivers that will be reversed. So big shuffle in the top 9. All the the championship contenders are there. Chris Jackson, if he takes part in race 2, will have a big mountain to climb, and same will go for Anthony Woodward. I honestly cannot wait for race 2.
Yeah, it's going to be fantastic. I can't remember us ever getting a 9-car reverse, but there you go. So like you said, Bogotyrev and Klusman on the front row of the grid. Well, yeah, we could be in for a fantastic race too. You do not want to miss it. It'll be 38 laps around here at Zolder, a pit stop included. You do not want to miss it. We'll be back in about 25 minutes time for round 12 of the season.
Growing up as a kid in Oklahoma, where I'm from, the Chili Bowl is the biggest race that we have. The Chili Bowl has kind of been my favorite race of the year. Growing up a dirt racer in Oklahoma, that's kind of the holy grail.
cleared. Punch it. Great job. You did really well.
Growing up as a kid in Oklahoma, where I'm from, the Chili Bowl is the biggest race that we have. The Chili Bowl has kind of been my favorite race of the year. Growing up a dirt racer in Oklahoma, that's kind of the holy grail.
Welcome back to the KSW Painting Euro V8 SuperCars series live on Apex Racing TV. I'm Sam Fitzpatrick and once again I'm joined alongside by Marco Barbonet. We are ready for race 2 here at Zolder. And Marco, I think this one is really lining up nicely. We've got a couple of drivers out of position and I think those top 4 in particular in race 1 were extremely competitive. It's going to be fascinating to see those guys make their way up through the field.
Absolutely, and as you can see, the weather has switched. It's a late afternoon settings, cloudy. The track is 19 degrees, so 1 degree hotter than the minimum, than the racing minimum, which is 18 degrees. And yes, let's see. And now, of course, for the race, it becomes sunny again. So let's throw all that away, and I think let's go through the starting grid.
Yes, and on pole position for this race 2 is Nikolai Bogotyov, a reverse grid of 9. He finished 9th position, there you go. Tony Klusman starts in 2nd position with Michael Abdoka in 3rd. They were both caught up in incidents in race 1. Then got Antonia warming up McClay, Brandon, and race 1 winner Foggy. He's starting in 8th, so clearly we're missing a driver. Stadler starts in 9th with Peter Bingham in 10th. And the rest of the field will just go through for you now because we've only got one more drive to get onto the grid, which was Nico Foggy, who has now got onto the grid. We're about to get underway here at Zolder, race 2 of the evening. And away we go. Bogotyov with a good start. Looks like he's going to be able to fend off Klusman straight away. Is Evdoka going to be able to get involved? They're almost going 3 wide. Going into turn 1, Evdoka gets squeezed out. But going through, round the outside, is Tony Klusman. He takes the lead straight away. Antonia looking to get past Evdoka after that very aggressive move from the Englishman. But he's just losing out there. And he might lose out even more positions. And not a good start whatsoever for the Pitstone Motorsport driver. Lots of side-by-side down the field. As going down the inside there is Foggy. So past Evdoka. Will he be able to fend though down into the chicane? It's the opening lap of the race. 37 more laps to go. As Evdoka really squirming on the brakes. Just about pulls ahead of Evdoka. Sorry, in front Foggy, who crucially picks up a slowdown. And that's going to send him tumbling down the field surely. Unless he can maybe not get away with too much. I would have thought, though, that's going to lose him a lot of time, though, Marco.
Yeah, I think so. Let's see now if he moves out of the way or not. Trying to take the slowdown as late as possible, maybe. As we go back to the front. Tony Klusterman then is indeed... I saw a car, I think an NQR car, on 2 wheels in the first corner. Maybe it was Clyde Whiting. As Foggy is now losing a position on McClay.
I think that was just McClay defending, to be honest. Somehow, I don't know how Foggy didn't pick up a slowdown there, but he seemed to get away with it. But there's Evdoka. So Evdoka was so aggressive, went for the lead on turn 1. He lost out to Antonio, who's all over the place now. Can Evdoka go down the inside into turn 2? They've got Johnny Brandon right on the tail. That is Nico Foggy trying to get back at McClay once again. He's got a good run here. Down the inside goes Foggy. Is there the space down the inside? They're almost touching one another. And finally, Foggy will be able to get that move done. Sure, McClay will still fancy his chances in this race. And that was a crucial move there from Nicole.
Absolutely. Nice move there as we get into the chicane for the 2nd time. Evdoka is pushing really hard. Will he go for a move here at the 2nd chicane?
Wasn't quite open for him. You can see Brandon just waiting for an incident between these 3 drivers, which Cosso, with the way they're racing right now, is quite inevitable. Klusman now with a 2-second lead out in front. Can Evdoka go for the move here? Really has to be decisive about it. Goes down the inside of Antonia. He decides to defend, but loses out, and now Brandon's going to go straight through. So Evdoka will be a little bit frustrated with that one. Would have liked to see a car between him and the championship leader. But instead, it looks to say the Season 4 champion and the Season 5 champion are going to go wheel to wheel very, very soon. They've got Nikolai Bogotyov now to overtake.
By the way, an update on the driver that we are missing is unfortunately Victor Tanaka. and podium in race 1, but sadly didn't take the start. In race 2 as Bokatayev goes wide and loses 3rd place and maybe even 4th place, side by side with Johnny Brandon, the defending champion, who has the outside, but I think, yes, will be able to pull the move. And also a change in the lead in the club championship, because Gary Croft went by Peter Bingham in the first corner.
Yeah, so nice move there. You can see how the entire field almost is just in a chain right now. Expect that to really spread out as this race progresses. Now, Foggy trying to come back. He's trying to get back past Antonio right now. Antonio really deep on the base. Will he get that one stopped? Well, he has. A little bit compromised his apex speed there. He's just a big inconvenience right now for Foggy. Foggy's now 5 seconds off the race lead. We'll go for the move down in the hairpin. Antonio just about leaving enough space. Foggy's going to have to muscle his way down the inside here. But does make it. And he's up into 5th position.
Yes, good move there. And now, next target will be Bokatayev. And also Brandon putting his pressure on Evdoka for 2nd place.
Yeah, it'll be fascinating to see these two go at bats, because they want to start catching up to Klusman. And you probably feel as though both of these guys have better pace than Klusman, especially over the long run of the race, because Klusman usually uses his tyres a little bit more than his rivals. But is it worth the risk for Brandon? Does he see Evdoka as a real championship threat? Does he have to make this move? We'll wait and see what his mindset is in a few corners' time.
Yes, by the way, the pit window, according to our secret informer and race leader Tony Klusterman, it will open around lap 14 and end around lap 24. And of course it will be fuel and tires for these guys.
Yeah, gonna be a pretty long race this, actually. What, say 90? Yeah, it's pretty much going to be an hour long, so a little bit longer than we usually see these feature races. As down the inside goes Foggy on Bogatayev. That was very generous there from Bogatayev, far too generous, and with the closeness of the field, he's going to lose 2 positions, maybe even another here to Hal Stadler, as Antonio comes under pressure from McClay again. McClay not quite being able to pull off that move yet. Ooh. But a good launch there, and he's going to be able to pull up into 5th position now. So pretty much the correct order is now in place, at least for the top 5. I think Stadler will be getting past Bogatayev very soon, but now it's just about the top 5 making laps. So we've got a long way to go in this race. It'll be fascinating to see who's got the advantage in pace.
Yes, by the way, this last time around, Johnny Brandon 30.5. Fastest lap of the race, half a second faster than Tony Klusterman. Evdoka had a 30.4, but that doesn't count officially, because there was an off track somewhere. But still, they are both very quick. Half a second, 0.6 of a second faster than the race leader Tony Klusterman. And now I think they just need to, you know, even though it's tough, but we always say it, they need to put their, fighting spirit on the side and concentrate, I think, on putting in those quick laps in order to get closer to the race lead.
Yeah, and save the tyres whenever they can as well. Just little things as, you know, limiting the wheel spin. All the drivers realise as we see Stadler going down the inside of Bogatayev, so Bogatayev really falling down the order now. He's not slow by any means, as Bogatayev. It's probably only slightly slower than these drivers, but he's just being pushed offline and losing quite a few positions as Warmingham gets past as well. Next up will be Jackson. But yeah, just driving this car as smooth as possible. All these drivers realise that the smoother you drive this car, the faster it will go. Probably quite a misconception amongst beginners in this car to think that you got to really push it hard, but instead it's being ever so delicate in every department, which will really extract the most amount of speed. And of course, driving like that should also preserve the tyres as well, so that's going to be fundamental for these guys. Grandin just waiting behind Evdoka there. Both making good time on Klusman. That last lap, another 0.2 of a second faster was Evdoka than Klusman. They got 1.8 seconds back to Foggy's only matching them. So right now, this top 4, it's absolutely lining up perfectly. And Marco, I hope this race plays out as we wish it does, because I reckon right now, Klusman is the 4th fastest driver, Evdoka's the 3rd fastest driver, Brandon's the 2nd fastest driver, and Foggy is the fastest driver, and they're all in the wrong order.
Yes, and of course, even though there was some contact earlier in the race between Evdoka and Foggy, they get a faster pair, so even if they have some damage from that contact, it will go away when they stop. And hopefully we get a nice, clean and very hard fought run to the checkered flag on lap 38. This time around, identical laps, 31.05, 31.06, 31.05 for the 3 race leader. Foggy 30.8, so a bit quicker than the 3 guys in front of him. But it's incredible, Sam, how similar the pace is right now between these 3 drivers.
Yeah, and don't rule out George McClay either. We haven't talked about him too much out there, as Bogotayev just loses out to Jackson. Jackson just struggling to make the moves currently. Feel a bit bad for him after that after that start incident in race 1, which is the reason why he started all the way down the order for race 2. Otherwise, this is how he got. This is Whiting, sorry. This is what happened to. It's a little bit of contact getting involved.
Oh yeah, that was him on 2 wheels, yeah. So, could have been a lot worse, could have been similar to race 1, luckily it wasn't, but Clyde Whiting, sadly, is 2 for 2 in first lap crashes today. Sorry, first corner crashes, not only first lap.
Well,
it's not a good, you know, last Thursday in the Sim Racers World GT Championship, the league organizer Ian Roots got wrecked in the second corner of the first lap, so it's not a good week for league organizers on Apex Racing TV. In a massive pileup, I should add. So, oh yeah, you were commentating with me.
I was there, yeah. I unfortunately I forgot about that, so I couldn't actually recall it. Unfortunately, of course, I'm now the main admin of the BSRTC Pro Series, which will be starting on Thursday.
Yeah, it's a media day.
So catch that one. We have most things in order. Unfortunately, I think there's still some gaping holes, but I think we've addressed most issues. But yeah, I'm not doing too much racing at the moment, so I can't really be cursed too much, fortunately. But yeah, here we go with this 4-car battle. Antonia holding up Stadler, warming up, and Jackson. These guys, yeah, really are very competitive drivers, you got to remember. And in fact, Antonio only 3.5 seconds off McClay. These guys are about 1 second off the pace of the super fast guys. So that kind of shows how competitive this order is, as Antonio all over the place, just about going to stay ahead of Stadler still.
Yes, Stadler, Antonia, Raprager.
Oh, and off.
Oh, and
goes
off
Jackson.
there is Jackson, yeah. So Raprager, Antonia, and Stadler, Raprager, sadly not with us today. And I'd say also George McClay have really been the top 4 newcomers, and they have in the series this season, and they've always been very close to each other. Stadler going for the move now on Antonia. Stadler always battling with Raprager, race in and race out. I mean, it's been absolutely amazing. Now Antonia defending, but Stadler seems to have the pace to go past. Now we will have the better line on the inside, even though this is a tricky corner to make a pass.
Well, very confident round the outside is Antonia, and he's just carried so much speed. Nicely done there. And, well, here comes Bogotayev as well. Oh, it's great to see these midfield drivers really going at it. Oh, and that's going to surely be a slowdown for Antonia. Does he... Or he might try to just slow them right down through the chicane. So watch out for him to just crawl around this chicane potentially. No, maybe he's got away with it, to be fair. I need to get my gorge for that slow down a lot better because, well, that was certainly all four wheels across the white line. But, yeah, not picking it up there.
And we say hello to Ryan Sylvester that has followed us on YouTube. Thank you very much. Nice new overlay that we have for the subscribers. And now side by side once again, Stadler has more speed, but he has the outside, so yeah, he cannot make it work. He needs a good exit from the final chicane. And look at Warmingham there.
Oh,
is around.
dear. Disappointing to see. Well, he's got back going to Antonio. He's still going to be right in the mix of the battles. We see side by side between Bogotyrev and Warming. So why? I think Warming's just picked up a slowdown, has he? Or maybe just got an awful exit from that chicane. Maybe hesitating from the Antonio spinning. But this is how it happened then. So Antonio, it was a self-spin. So tight on the inside there. And that's a lot of mistakes that happened there. Yeah, it was just the concertina effect for Warming, which cost him, as we see, almost side by side. Evdoka and Brandon going at it. This is the battle for second position. Brandon thought as though he could get the move done there, but the space just wasn't quite.
I think we were very, very close to a contact between these two drivers, only centimeters away from each other. Foggy also, I think, has officially joined this party as well. Whilst,
contact between the two of them.
Yeah, now there's contact, and at the same time, I think they risk losing touch with Klusterman. You see, he's already in the chicane. Now these three guys are coming.
Oh, I'm Doc all over the place. He's going to have a real slow exit here. They're now 3 seconds off Klusterman as Brandon, he wants to go down the inside, but the gap just isn't there. Doc defending to the wall. And, well, this is an awful lap, really, for their times, at least. But as long as Evdoka survives this, I think he'll be quite pleased as Brandon tries to go around the outside. He's almost going to be shoved out here. There's so nearly contact between the two of them. This is properly close racing right now, as Evdoka will take the normal racing line and maybe will resume his racing line. But again, Brandon is ever so close, and with the way that these two have been so aggressive to one another, you wouldn't dare against Brandon maybe just diving down the inside, because if you do that, it pretty much leaves the outside Joe with nowhere to drive, as once again he's so close. Evdoka just wants a little bit of respite out there, a little bit of breathing room, but he's having to defend into every single corner as he just starts to pull away again, so might be able to take some normal racing lines here. But they're now 5.5 seconds behind Klinsmann. They have lost 3.5 seconds just with that battling.
Yeah, let's see the gap in the last 5 laps between P1 and P2. Klusterman and Evdoka, and you can see on lap 10 the spike there, the yellow bar getting very long, and that means that the gap, as you can see, up into 4.3 seconds, and now it will be in the 6 seconds after they go past the start-finish line once again. 6 seconds precisely as they go through the start-finish line for the beginning of lap 12.
Yeah, quite incredible this. I know Evdoka will simply not let Brandon pass if he has anything to do with it. As we see this battle, we've just got epic battles all over the shop right now. As we see side by side between Jackson and Woodward. Now these two are teammates, kinda. So they ought to let each other pass. As here comes Brandon round the outside. This is going to be a brave move if he pulls it off. No, Evdoka with the line covered. Can he get it stopped? He's all over the place. Can he get the cars exited? Brandon gets his nose alongside, but can Evdoka defend? Yes, he can. Wow, what defense this is right now. Almost locking up once again. Just will not give up on this one, will Michael Evdoka. They've lost another second just on this lap. You can see now George McClay getting involved as well. And, well, all this biting, it seems to just be tearing Evdoka's tyres to bits right now, Marco, because he's sliding through every corner.
And we are a couple of laps away still from the opening of the pit window. So after on lap 14, we might start to see some of these drivers head for the pit lane in search for clean air and an alternate strategy. Boosterman 31.3, let's see the lap times for Evdoka and the rest. Let's see, it's at 32.3, 32.7, 32.8. Disaster right now for these three guys. I mean, we are happy because it's a fantastic battle that they are having. But Tony Klusterman is the happiest of them all, pulling away 7 seconds the gap now. So absolutely unthinkable of just a few laps ago.
Yeah, it's really looking as though these four were going to really culminate in a proper battle, but instead really pulled away as Tony Klusterman, as we see side by side between Woodward and apologies.
Jackson now.
Yes, apologies for that. So Jackson moving up into 11th place then. Got 1.4 seconds to catch up to Croft and Antonia. As Evdoka for the first time, he's got 0.4 of a second between himself and Grant. Foggy backing off a bit. Maybe saving a bit of fuel, Marco. Go for the overcut.
Oh, sorry, Bill Switzer. With a problem.
Wow.
Slow down, another slow down. I think he had enough of that, yeah. Stopping the car. And that's all she wrote for him in this race. And you know, maybe that's a perfectly valid idea, Sam, about Foggy. Now almost 1 second behind Brandon, 1.2 behind Evdoka. Who knows? Saving a bit of fuel here and there.
Yeah, because there's no point in him getting involved. Because him and Brandon are teammates. So there's no point in them two fighting when they're trying to get past Evdoka at the same time. And of course McClay's right behind as well. So yeah, may as well just wait for them to make contact. 7 seconds now between the top two. So it's kind of maintaining game. On that last lap, Evdoka was in fact 0.5 tenth faster than Klusterman. But you feel as though the damage has been done. Still got, what, 70% of the race? Not quite, no, about 60% of the race to go. So it's still time for this one to twist and turn. As Evdoka just starting to pull away now from Brandon, up to 0.7 of a second.
Yes, and the pit window is officially open, so let's see if there will be takers straight away. Or if drivers will wait a bit in order to get in. McClay, you see him at the back end of your picture, trying to get close to these three guys in front of him. And this will form a very, very nice Fitstyle versus XVR battle.
All very close so between Bogotayev and Antonia and Jackson as well. I've just seen it just gone red on our live timing screen. And well, this is why. Bogotayev down the inside of Antonia. He's lost the car. And Jackson goes into the pits at the perfect timing. That was superb from him. Let's have peripheral vision of an owl there to spot that one. And go straight down into pit road. Bogotayev. Is he going to lose out this time to Woodward? No, holds on to 10th place.
I think in the end Bogotayev saved this car. See from the chopper. He did. We saw something similar in the Le Mans series on Wednesday, where I think Patrick Wolf in the LMP1 managed to see, I don't know how, a spinning GT in his rearview mirror at the first chicane in Monza. And had to take evasive action through the first chicane, as Evdoka is absolutely all over the place. Look at that.
That's quite incredible. Absolutely, yeah, all over the place. Almost like a cart, that car. The way that he's just happy to lock the brakes wherever. Of course, something important to take into account actually around this circuit, as Foggy goes into the pits. Did McClay follow him there? No, he didn't. He stayed out. But yeah, something important to take into account here is because of that pit entry is straight on. It's actually worth leaving a gap before actually coming into the pits. If you're Brandon, then you basically lose 2 seconds when you come down pit road because you can't go flat out down there. So yeah, it's really not worth it if you're following a car, because then you're just going to lose loads of time. As Abdoka Reed having to defend, this is just helping Nicole Foggy right now. Abdoka having to defend right to the line. Is Brandon going to be able to find the inside? I thought he was going to go to the inside there. We're just having to back out, and there's no room there. Absolutely no chances. Abdoka's a little bit hairy there. Pulls ahead. Brandon isn't going to be able to go for a lunge down the hill, I think.
Yeah, and this is what Foggy wanted to see. His two main rivals battling it out. Foggy 23 seconds, sorry, in his pit stall. 59 seconds overall from cone to cone, so that's, I think, a time that we can use as a baseline. So you lose around 1 minute, which is almost 1 lap. Let's say 2/3 of a lap you lose in the pits around here if you get 1 minute in the pit lane. And these two guys battling it out on all tires. Now Foggy might have clean air. Let's see if they pit. If Doka is in, Brandon and is out, is staying out. McClay is in. So let's see where Nicole Foggy is.
Well, you'd expect Foggy with those fresh tyres, a clean track, and there you go. This should be quite a simple overcut, I imagine. But if Doka can keep the, well, I guess they're limited by the tyres though, aren't they? So can't really put less fuel in and therefore have a shorter stop. I'll have to wait and see, I guess. So here they go.
So you can follow on the bottom of your screen both the time spent in the pit lane and the time spent in their pit stall. Say for Foggy was 1 minute. As we wait and wait and wait. Here comes Foggy.
Oh, Abdoka's already got away. That's a quick pit stop, 22 seconds for him. Let's see where he is as they go around the very unique pit exit here. Foggy looks to be behind, but don't count on it yet because that is a very long pit exit. Abdoka's got to make sure that he stays within the line, and he does stay ahead. In fact, McClay's not far behind Foggy either. So, and off goes Bogotayev, and that was Woodward.
Yes.
So disappointing to see that about to come to an end in that fashion.
Woodward is in.
And off.
Oh, precarious position. That is Bingham.
And another car as well.
Bingham is involved there.
Whiting, I think, was the one who made contact, and into the wall again. Oh, this is awful to see. For Woodward, I think that was just hitting the wall.
Yeah. Let's catch a replay of that.
This was a little bit early on, I think.
Old, very, very old replay. Apologies. So this should be the right one. Maybe. No, it wasn't. This was the right one. Yes.
Here we go. So Bogotayev on the inside, Woodward on the outside. Woodward's tried to... Oh, it's a lot of netcode, I think.
And then someone smashed into him.
That was Bingham, I think, who came in.
Oh no, he didn't. He didn't. It was... Yeah, it was Bingham. But he took avoiding action and went around. Bogotayev now into the pits. Bingham under pressure because this was right in front of the guys that already pitted. Foggy fastest lap of the race. If Doka on those cold tires had a good advantage coming out of the pits, but now Foggy is using his warmer tires to close the gap and also the the traffic. So now the gap between them is, as you can see, 0.4 of a second, with George McClay being a little bit behind them. Let's see how long will it take for Foggy. I mean, he's already, I think, in near to him in order to make a move. Not very, very close, but he can make a lunge. As Klusterman stays out once again. 18 laps for him and for Brandon. And I think also for Stadler and Wormingham and Croft, should they not come into the pits this time around.
McClay just losing a little bit of time to these guys. Seeing how close he was, maybe just struggling a little bit. Maybe on that first lap coming out of the pits, tires are a little bit cold. That would explain why Foggy was unable to make the undercuts on Evdoka. Brandon, of course, yeah, like stayed out. So, yeah, just fascinating to see where this one's going to go. We're not even halfway through this race. Well, now we are, to be fair. No, yeah, we're about halfway through this race now. So, if it's anything like the first 19 laps of this race, the next 19 are going to be quite enthralling. And of course, at the end of it, we will see another checkered flag, round 12 of the season. Pretty much the midway point of the season, I believe, as well. And there's still many drivers left in the championship as Evdoka goes down the inside there of Frost, and all of a sudden Foggy's really close. Brandon couldn't make the move earlier on. Brandon wasn't willing to really try the outside line into this chicane, and once again Foggy thinking much better of it.
And as they start fighting, Klusterman and Brandon come into the pits. So perfect timing for them as their two main rivals are fighting it out. I mean, Klusterman is comfortably in the lead. Stadler also is in from 3rd place. And also Wormingham from 4th place.
This is going to be close, isn't it? Because these two fighting a little bit, along with the traffic. If Brandon can get ahead during this pit stop, then that would be a big blow for these two chances at a podium. So come round the final corner, Brandon is...
long stop for Tony
Oh
Klusterman.
dear! And has this race win got away from Tony Klusterman? Where is Brandon? Brandon is in the race lead, is he? No, here comes Evdoka. He's going to be round the outside, but no. Johnny Brandon has taken the race lead. He's gone from 3rd to 1st in the pit stops, and that little bit of fighting between Evdoka and Foggy has cost them. And now Evdoka's got to make this move straight away if he's going to win this race. Goes to the outside. Oh, goes to the inside. Oh, he's lost the car, but just about hangs onto it. Can he defend against Foggy? They're going to be side by side. This could be awkward. Just about gets through there, does Foggy. So it's now an XVR 1-2. I think Evdoka was trying the dummy there on Brandon, but it just did not work out.
That was incredibly close to disaster for Evdoka and all three of them, to be honest. Tony Klusterman, you can see the gap now. His pit stop was 39 seconds. 1 minute 15 seconds total pit stop time, pit lane time, and if you look at the 15 seconds more than anyone else, you quite clearly understand where we are going. I think he got a penalty.
Yep, think so. Even then, it was still very long, wasn't it? 39 seconds. Usually a 15-second penalty. So, it's all changed. McLean now in 4th position, by the way. Well, I say that actually. Of course, there's still got Antonia and Croft to come into the pits. But yeah, of course, this will be interesting now, Marco, because in the first race, it was quite clear that Foggy had an advantage on Brandon. But now the question is, are these 4-lap newer tyres for Brandon going to be enough to kind of neutralise that advantage?
Yes, let's see how this one will evolve. I am a bit sad that we lost.
Evdoka's off.
Oh, Evdoka! That is going to be a slowdown for sure. He avoids major damage to his car, but these are the mistakes you cannot absolutely afford in a race so tight like this one. Tony had a big mistake. Now Evdoka, and I mean, it would be, I wouldn't say incredible, but absolutely unthinkable of that this race would come down to the two XVR drivers. Now, luckily for Evdoka, penalties this late in the race, as Antonio is in, are not as harsh as the first couple of laps penalties that you get usually, but he is losing a bit of time now. He lost a bit of time, and it's going to be tough to make that up unless Brandon and Foggy start fighting again.
Antonia, of course, yeah, came in, like I think he said. So Croft now the only driver yet to come into the pits. He's 9 seconds ahead of Brandon. So where's Antonio going to be then? Looks as though he's going to be behind Stadler. Yeah, already Stadler going past, so comfortably. Jackson will go ahead as well. Wonder if Antonius maybe left that pit stop a bit late. He's going to be very quick now to the end of the race on those fresh tyres. Although he's got a little bit of a longer stop as well, about 4 seconds longer than the majority of the rest of the field. So will he be ahead of Bogatyrev? There is the blue car. Bogatyrev makes a mistake, maybe just seeing his rival, and makes a mistake and costs him the potential to maybe be very close when Antonio came out of the pits. The gap between the two of them, just 1.5 seconds.
As we go back to the... the race leader, Gary Croft, is into the gravel. I think he will head in for the pits this time around. Evdoka, last lap, of course, not good. Let's see this time around his lap in comparison to the two drivers in front of him.
Wow! Johnny Brandon is into the pits. What has gone on there? The race leader, he looks on course for surely a big step towards the title. But instead he's had to come into the pits and this is going to ruin his race. Why on earth is there a need for this? Is he going to be able to get back out?
Let's see if he takes just fuel tires or if it's a penalty, speeding in the pits coming out of them. Yes. Or just a splash, because went in and went out.
Nah, I think his pit stop was fine before and he would have left it later. Could we go back to when he came out of the pits?
Yes.
Would have been on lap 20... No, I don't know what lap. It was lap 20, sorry. Right at the start of lap 20. Because it's a really... I'd certainly know I've come victim to this pit's exit here at Zolder, where the white line can really catch you out.
So this is Brandon leaving the pits.
This one, he's thinking, oh, this is going well. Go ahead of Tony.
Maybe he crossed the white line, because that's a weird white line.
Yeah. And now he's thinking, oh, I've got ahead of these two. I'm in the race lead. I'm in the race. Oh, yeah. I've gone across the white line.
Wow, this race, man. It's...
yeah.
And now it's
Everyone's
Foggy and
had an
Evdoka.
issue.
Who did we lose?
I think everyone's had an issue.
Well, I heard someone had an issue. I mean...
You wouldn't count against it, would you?
Yeah, I mean, and incredible to say, none of them have been our fault today, I think. And now it's I mean, left the last two drivers that are left standing, Foggy and Evdoka, even though McClay and Klusterman are not that far behind. You can see them in the back end of your picture. Here is McClay and here is Klusterman, of course. And the way these drivers are, having problems left and right, and with 14 laps left, I think surprises might not be over, as Peter Bingham has had a bit of an issue. Yeah.
Oh, and I think that's where the race leaders are about to approach. So get back on his way quickly.
Oh, they managed to squeeze through, but that, of course, it's always a distraction. When you're looking in the mirror, we'll get a replay very soon, as Evdoka has a poor exit from the hairpin. So let's get a replay. So Bingham getting to the hairpin, loses the car coming into the dogleg there, and hits the wall on the right, then on the left, and I think he will need a trip to the pits maybe to get a fast repair in.
Yeah, hopefully for him he hasn't already taken that fast repair.
I think he has retired, yeah. So, too bad, as the sun is setting over Zolder, and we are having a magnificent sunset as per iRacing standards. Foggy, Evdoka, McLay, Klusterman, Stadler, the top 5. Johnny Brandon is in P7 and trying to catch Chris Jackson. The gap between the two is 1 second.
Yeah, and Jackson's not going to let this one go easy. No doubt about that. Of course, Never Quit Racing versus XVR. They're both catching up to Stadler as well. And then got an 18-second gap back to Klusman. Surprising this, that Evdoka is able to maintain this gap. Of course, Foggy with 1 lap older tyres. But judging by race 1, you really expected maybe Foggy to be able to pull away, but that's not been the case. Evdoka keeping up with ease. It's kind of turning into race 1 again between the two XBR teammates, where second place just cannot get the overtake done. As so Evdoka 2/10 faster than Foggy on that lap. Kloosterman sets his personal best lap of the race, 1/10 faster than the race leaders. Brandon, well, I've just said Jackson's not going to give this one up easy, and he just lifts off that past the XVR driver. But there you go, probably admitting defeat. So yeah, Brandon now 2.5 seconds to catch up to Stadler, and that should be the end of his race as long as nothing happens to these guys. Which, well, right now it's looking quite unlikely. You can see McLeod kind of dropping off a little bit, 4 seconds of second position now. With Klusman, well, he's just waiting to make that move very soon, you think. The thing is, if Foggy starts defending against Evdoka with the way that we've seen this race go, Marco, they will lose 2 seconds a lap, and that will really invite this 3rd and 4th back into the race.
Exactly, and then what do you do? I mean, if you're Evdoka, do you try to get the move done now, or do you wait a bit and try to go for a move later, but, you know, leaving yourself less chances to make the move? Because if you try to go for a move right now, there is a big possibility that you might get both McLay and Klusterman involved in the fight. That is something that you don't want, even though it would be like, you know, you would have an ally in McLay, but of course, when we are fighting for the win, it's not that straightforward, and Tony Klusterman always a tough driver to overtake, as this time around, Foggy pulling away ever so slightly. 1 second now the gap.
Yeah, 3/10 fast. Yeah, sorry, 3/10 faster on that last time out. Klusman fastest of anyone. He's consistently about a 10th faster than Foggy. It's not going to be enough to get him back to the race lead, but at the end of the stint, he could well have a big advantage as the other drivers really start struggling with their tyres, especially with the how much Foggy and Evdoka are having to push at the moment against one another. And of course, McLeod just trying to repel the attack from the Canadian, as Brandon eases up to the back of Stadler, and that last lap he was 1 second faster than Harold. So it'll be, yeah, should be past him very, very soon. These drivers seem to be absolutely nailing that chicane now, because I swear that all 4 wheels off the circuit every single time, but they're just getting it right. That's kind of how you can kind of just get into a zone during the race and just hit that curb the exact same way for, you know, 30 laps straight.
And it's a thing of beauty when you get it right and you see these cars on 2 wheels hopping, and I have no idea how they are able to then keep the traction and the grip under control when they finally land. So we have 1st and 2nd place together, 3rd and 4th together, and 5th and 6th together as we are entering the final part of the race. And I think the first couple, I think, to break will be this one, Brandon at the race winning pace today. That mistake coming out of the pits on the inside there at the first corner, and he gets the move on Stadler, who's having a nice race, but of course the pace from Johnny is too much for him, and Johnny had a purple 4th sector today. Back to the battle for P3 now, because Klusterman is closing in on McLeod.
Yeah, well, Klusman just dropped off his time on that last lap, I think, just as he kind of caught up to McClay. Usually a good racer is Tony Klusman, because we saw this battle actually last 2 weeks ago at Nürburgring. That time was for the lead, because it was the other way round. It was Klusman on the older tyres, and certainly seemed to be the slower driver. McClay trying to make the move, and now it's the other way around. McClay managed to make the move last time, but then lost it in the pit stops, had a slow pit stop, and that cost him the race win, and then couldn't make it late on in the race. And Klusman gets it done. He should only need to get it done once in order to convert this podium. As, yeah, McClay just starting to really drop off his times. He's lapping about 0.8 of a second slower, McClay, than he was at the start of the stint. It was showing those age of the tyres, now up to 13 laps.
Let's get on board with Tony so we can see both cars, how they are behaving. In this final part, you see Tony sideways but still under control. I think we have an issue for Chris Jackson, who is very slow.
He hasn't lost a position. Just lost a couple of seconds, seemingly.
Just an off for him. So, got away with it. Back to this battle then. On board with Tony Klusterman, as we can bring the ad up so we can see his speed and the gear he is in right now. Certainly this information that was not available up until I think around last year, more or less, this time. It's a game changer in my opinion as a spectator and of course as a broadcaster, because back in the day you couldn't, you didn't have the information about the gear that the driver was in. You had all the cars were stuck in reverse in iRacing when you were spectating, yes. If you remember. It's even in the McLaren Shadow commercial, official commercial. They show McLaren on iRacing Formula 1 car going to the front stretch of Interlagos full speed with the reverse gear on.
Well, I remember on the World Championship days, that's where I really noticed it, of course, when you got the onboards. And it, you know, it's not a great seller of your product, undoubtedly. It's quite a, I imagine it's a relatively simple thing to add, so it was certainly worth it. As Klusman, well, he's going one way, and then the other, now he's going to go down the inside. McClay almost fends it off, and, well, that was just a bit clumsy from the pair of them, really. I think that was way too far back from Klusman to go for a move into that chicane, and they've just lost each other about 1.5 seconds. There and then as Klusman goes down the inside from absolutely nowhere, McClay will stay around the outside. Has he just cut the circuit there? Well, either way, Klusman's been able to pull ahead, and, well, an aggressive couple of moves there, Marco. Absolute dives, but he got it stopped, to be fair.
I mean, that was a sand and a half, as they used to say. Let's get a replay of that from the chopper. And look how far behind he was. Some door rubbing there. And in the end, I mean, that is one way to get overtakes done on this track, I think. You have I mean, we said that in the opening of the broadcast. You really need to put your elbows out if you want to defend and if you want to make an overtake. Very aggressive from Tony, uncharacteristic from Tony. So if he's resorting to this kind of moves, it really shows how really you must you know, be you know, decisive when you go for a move around here.
Could we actually go back to when Tony came into the pits on lap 19? Because that's when he picked up the penalty, of course. It would be quite interesting to know how far over the speed limit he was on that occasion. Which probably has cost him the race win, because he's been pretty much the fastest driver since that pit stop and had about a 9-second lead beforehand, but losing 15 seconds has really set him back out of winning contention, although of course he will be very fast to the end of the races. The top two's tyres really start dropping off in the closing stages.
Yes, as I keep searching for the moment Tony Klusterman pitted.
Yeah, of course, yeah, up, back into third position. Pretty much all the battles calming down at the moment amongst the drivers. Potentially, just looking for potential battles up there. Maybe Stadler, Jackson, and Warmingham. Would be good to see those three fighting amongst each other quite soon. They are about 5 seconds between one another at the moment, but certainly no sign of any wheel-to-wheel action imminently. But of course, with this action-packed race, you wouldn't bet against anything. Here we go. This was what happened to Klisterman.
So unfortunately, the speedometer doesn't work in the replays.
Oh, well, you can see he's miles past the cones.
Let's get it once again. Those are the cones. Yeah, you are, and the speed limiter comes in way too late. Absolutely nice catch there, Sam.
It'd be good to chat to him after the race, maybe to see if he's practiced that pit entry a lot, because it almost seems as though he was caught out by where the pit cones were. It'd be unusual for a driver who does so much practice and is so experienced as Tony and has probably been to this circuit many times to be caught out in that way. But like you said, he put on the speed limiter so late there.
Absolutely. I don't know if he was maybe... No, he's using VR, so maybe he was looking for something on his wheel or something else. We know that in the past sometimes he's had some issues with his VR headset. So, I mean, not a great moment there for him, but a great recovery up to P3. But seems, and we say this touching wood, seems that Nicole Foggy has the situation under control, because he is now 2.7 seconds in front of Evdoka, so he doesn't have the pressure. I mean, he knows that Evdoka is there, but it's not like super close to him, so he doesn't feel too much pressure, in my opinion. And let's see how it works for him. He doesn't have a lot of time left. He just needs to keep concentrating for just a bit.
Yeah, it kind of reminds me of the Belle Isle round last season. This where Tony Klisterman again was leading, made a mistake during the pit stop stages, gave Nicole Foggy the lead. Of course, on that day, Nicole Foggy made a complete self-mistake and gave away the race victory to Jamie McKnight, it was, for McKnight's first ever win, as Foggy almost making a mistake there. I'm not wishing ill on Nicole by any means, but it would be fantastic to see a proper side-by-side battle to the line in this race 2 of the evening. Evdoka's just losing lots of time now, 6/10 slower on that lap. It seems like he's just overcooked those tyres.
I mean, we are on lap 34. The pit stop lap for Foggy and Evdoka was 15 and 16 respectively. In the first race, the laps, the tires fell down around 14 laps into the stint. So if my maths are correct, we are way past that point. So I think that all these drivers are really on the edge right now. And you see in the final corner, Foggy was absolutely sideways. But I think also Evdoka is suffering from worn tires like everyone else. So we might not have a battle for the win, like proper like door-to-door banging, but I'm sure that these drivers are really on the edge right now, because they know that a mistake can happen at any time with these tires.
Yeah, I'm sure, yeah, Nicole Foggy won't be counting his chickens quite yet. Getting quite close between Brandon and Stadler. Brandon set a little bit of a slower lap on that last time by. He overtook Stadler quite a few laps ago. Hasn't really been able to pull away. I'm just wondering, is he struggling maybe with some fuel management? of course, didn't take any. You'd imagine he'd be fine on fuel. He didn't have a particularly short first stop. Of course, that was when he took fuel and tyres, and then of course the second stop was a penalty for crossing the pit exit line. As Brandon crosses the line, and that was a 31.4, so much better actually there from Brandon. In fact, faster than the race leaders there. Stadler faster than the race leaders as well. This is a little bit strange. About a second faster than Tony Policeman in third place. So maybe these the front runners maybe just pushing too hard in their pursuit for the win, and they've really damaged their tyres. Whereas these guys in the midfield have still keeping up some decent lap times.
Absolutely, gap between the top two, 4 seconds, and you can see it has progressed quite a bit since lap 30 to right now. So Foggy really on his game today. I have to say that he needed a little bit of helping hand in this second race from the others, but absolutely he was in contention even before everyone started having problems. As we are in lap 36 right now, so 3 laps left in this race. And you were right, this was a very, very long race. Usually what we used to have in Season 4, when the second race was around this distance. And last season, race 2 was shortened a bit, and we saw some drivers using this to their advantage, for example in Silverstone, first round of the season, with no stoppers. I think that was Taliancic not stopping in the second race of the doubleheader. Oh man, Foggy is not leaving anything on the table, sideways once again. This is a bit of a throwback. I mean, I don't remember, but I know that back in the day there was a 1 hour break between race 1 and race 2, if I'm not mistaken.
Really? Wow.
I think Samuli told me this. But yeah, this is a little bit of a throwback, and I quite enjoy these longer races, especially they have a mini enduro kind of feeling to them. You know, 1 hour is quite a lot. I mean, the longest official series on iRacing is the Le Mans series, and they do 1 hour races. You know, except for when IMSA does a special event, every once in a while you get a 90-minute race, 1 hour and a half. You know, once per season, more or less. As we have Foggy getting closer to Michael Frost, who is a lap down, more than 1 lap down, I am afraid. Yeah, he's on lap 34, Foggy is on lap 36, and with some damage. So while we have 2 laps left, Sam, I think we can get a little bit of a mini chat about what's coming. And we have a super sprint race coming on the 6th of April. And we are going to a track that I despise usually. But this is the...
Oh, I like it.
This is by far one of my favorite configurations in iRacing. The Cup version of Sonoma, as Foggy gets the move done on Evdoka. So I don't like Sonoma or Infineon Raceway, or Source Point like the old guys used to call it, but the cup layout is fantastic, and it's a short one, and this means of course that we are going to have the triple header event.
Yeah, it's going to be good into that hairpin, isn't it? That's going to be absolute carnage with the wall right by the circuit at that corner. That should be good fun. And personally, I like the other Sonoma layouts as well. I think it just feels a bit quirky the way that it goes onto the drag strip as well at one point, and then of course goes back onto the main circuit, but of course using the cup layouts. And not an easy circuit by any means with that one. Usually we see these super sprint races a little bit easier circuits, you know, like Okayama Short, for example, where you basically got the same corner over and over again. But I'm sure that Sonoma circuit is going to provide plenty of challenges to the drivers. Sadler coming under pressure from Jackson. They're still only 2 seconds behind Brandon, so that just shows how competitive Hal Stadler has been today. As Jackson just looking every which way. Can he make a move in these closing stages? The race leaders on their... No, they're not. they're not on their last lap, are they?
Yes,
They've
they
got
are.
1.5 laps to go. Oh, are they?
The white flag, yes, is in the air.
Yes, you're right. I get very confused by the amount of laps completed. But there you go. These guys are on their last lap as well then. So I think we're going to have to draw our eyes away from this one. Because out in the lead, Nicole Foggy, who of course won one of the races at Nürburgring and did very well at the other. He's really generating a lot of momentum in this race currently. I imagine at the end of this race, he's going to be in the lead of the championship when it comes to drop scores. Of course, he had an awful round at Imola, but since then he's absolutely bounced back strongly. He had to rely on Brandon's mistake in the pit stops. He had to rely on Klusman's mistake in the pit stop. Michael Abducker also made a bit of a mistake, and it's left Nicole Foggy out in the lead, and he wins at race 2 at Zolder. Round 12 of the championship goes his way. Abducker's going to beat Klusman to the line. Klusman will be kicking himself for that mistake, and McClay will be in 4th, Brandon in 5th. He will be in 6th position though. Stadler defending against Jackson. Jackson maybe just lining this one up. He just cannot get the power down though. He realizes he's lost out. Backs off. He's just going to cruise across the line here. Just could not get the power down.
He's out of fuel.
Oh, he is. And who's behind him? Richard Warmingham might just be able to get him to the line. Here comes Warmingham. The line is very far down the circuit. Who's going to get it? It's just Warmingham. Oh, terrible for Chris Jackson. Mr. Unlucky out there. Lost out by 1 second in the end to the XVI driver after starting right from the back of the field. Still finishes in 8th place. Well, I think, Marco, after that legendary Nürburgring race, I honestly think that may have been even better with just the amount of twists and turns. You had 3 drivers there who all had a chance at the race win, all, you know, threw it away with self-mistakes. They can't really blame anyone else. It left Nicole Foggy, and of course, Nicole was, I think, probably the deserved winner out there because he was the fastest driver. But yeah, that was super controversial, super kind of, yeah, entertaining.
How can you not love this championship? I mean, it's unbelievable how every 2 weeks it gives us another exciting event, time and time again, and this was another one of them. I think that another one thing that maybe who's watching doesn't know and wants to take place in this championship, the league is super friendly for newcomers, and unbelievably, it's free. So you can join, you can have fun, you can learn these cars at a nice time for us in Europe, and even for the drivers in North America. It's on a weekend, so it's quite acceptable time if you don't want to race in the you know, oceanic race times. So I mean, what more can you want? And this season is almost over, but you can join anytime. And there's a new season coming after this one as well. So there is absolutely no reason not to love this championship, Sam. What a fantastic doubleheader today at Zolder. Like you said, twist turns, everything happened. Nicole Foggy, the deserved winner today. I think that it takes a lot to do, you know, a sweep under such pressure in a track like this.
Yeah, definitely. And neither race was easy, was it? You think he was down outside the top 2 in both races and managed to come back and win out in the pair. So, the final race results. Nicole Foggy wins out by 7 seconds in the end over Michael Abducker. Abducker pushed him for a while, tried to get back the lead, but in the end, those tires just giving up at the end. Tony Klusman finished in 3rd, close to Abducker near the end, but really wasn't ever in range for a pass. George McClay was in 4th place with Johnny Brandon, that extra pit stop, in 5th. Howard Stadler, great result for him in 6th. Richard Warren just pipping Chris Jackson to 7th at the line. Philip Antonio was in 9th. And Nikolai Bogotayev round out the top 10. Clyde Whiten was the last driver on the lead lap. And then we had Gary Croft and Michael Frost, 1 and 2 laps down, respectively. And then the retirees were Anthony Woodward, Peter Bingham, and Bill Switzer as well. Should get some interviews with the drivers as I frantically load up Discord, and I think we can. Who's Glump?
It's
Do we know,
Nicole
Marco?
Foggy.
It is Nicole. Okay, we'll have a chat with Nicole then first. And well done, Nicole. That was an awesome double victory. You must be delighted.
Hey man, yeah, I mean, pretty good. I thought this track was going to be a bit of a train. It kind of was. You're hoping for somebody to get a slowdown, and I think I just got pretty lucky with it. Johnny getting one in the first race, and then he got black flag in the second race. So a bit of luck, mainly luck, I think, to manage that.
Well, you were certainly the fastest driver out there. In that second race, when Johnny came out of the pits, were you aware that he had the black flag? Because we saw Michael try to go for a move on Johnny, and of course, if Michael knew that that Johnny had the black flag, of course, he wouldn't have gone for that move. So that proved pretty important. Did you know that Johnny had to serve another pit stop?
Yeah, he mentioned it. He was a bit annoyed about it. So yeah, we normally update each other on what's going on. We don't battle too hard. Maybe depending how close the points are towards the end of the season. Yeah, if we're if we're in contention for the lead, I guess we'll battle. Because I think last season I wasn't close enough to properly battle for the lead to win the championship last season. I can't remember where I finished, but too far behind anyway. So we'll see what happens this season anyway. It'd be cool to be close together and battle a bit harder, but we'll see what happens with everybody else as well.
Yeah, definitely. I think you two must be pretty much tired on points now because of kind of the momentum that you picked up. I think that's now 3 race wins out of 4. And next up, we head to Sonoma. Of course, it's going to be difficult to, have a clean sweep there, of course, with the super sprints. Is that a circuit that you've ever driven round on the cup layout before?
Sonoma, is that the one that's on like a hill?
It is very hilly, yes.
And you go, I think first coming up past the pits, it's a left-hander going way up the hill.
Yes, there you go. You got it. Nice one.
Yeah. That I really like that track anyway. That's going to be a tough one. I think it could be fun. I've had some good racing there. You got to be really careful of some of the like sort of humps and stuff. Especially turn. What would it be? You got the left-hander, the right-hander, and then a left, and then that right over that hump over there. You're going to be really careful there. But I think you can get a good run through there, down into the next right-hander. So I think there'll be a few places where you're going to have to be good on the brakes. Try to get some good run through the corners. Maybe a bit more battling than this track anyway. This one's difficult for battling.
Yeah, absolutely. Still made it very entertaining though out there, Nicole. And before we let you go, anyone you'd like to thank?
Yeah, just as usual, the team XVR, all my teammates, and you guys for doing the broadcast. Great as always, and thanks to the guys who run the series.
Thanks, Nicole, and we'll see you very soon on Apex Racing TV.
Okay, thanks very much. See you soon.
Next up, Marco, who do you fancy having a chat with?
I want to have a chat with Johnny Brandon. I want to ask him something. So let's see if we can have him in our interview room.
The same set.
Here he is, Johnny Brandon, mid-sentence, of course, with other drivers. So we very rudely picked him up from the interview waiting area. Johnny, I mean, great qualifying. Race 1, you were in the lead for several laps. Then race 2 was so close, and from our perspective, it seemed like you got a penalty for crossing the white line coming out of the pits.
Yep, about the last meter of it. It gave me a stop-and-go penalty, so I managed to throw both races away. In the first race, I got a slowdown as well, which is why Froggy went past. Yeah, disappointing. Had 0 incursions at that point, just cruising along, and for some reason snatched a break. So managed to throw them both away today, but it's still fun.
It was. We talked about this when we first went on the air about how this track really gives you no room for mistake, both because of the many chicanes that are, prone to giving you a slowdown if you miss them, and also because when you lose a position, it's very hard to get it back.
Yeah, to be honest, I don't even know what happened with the first slowdown. I do know what happened, but I don't know. I just locked up, and to be honest, we were cruising. Just didn't want any incursions for the bonus points, and yeah, a bit strange, but obviously my own fault. And then for the second one, when I come out of the pits, there it was so close with those guys, with Michael and Foggy and everybody. I mean, I was being so badly held up. I saved so much fuel, and I wasn't very happy with some of the defensive driving going on in front of me. It was not great, but it is what it is. And so I was trying to push so much coming out, and the rear just stepped out and just crossed the line, cost myself the race. Yeah, it had so much pace. It was just decided it wasn't worth trying to get past the car in front. It was just far too dangerous, and just saved loads of fuel.
So 2 weeks from today, we will be at Sonoma in the NASCAR layout for a super sprint event, and that is a track that has some big elevation changes and some particularly tasty overtaking opportunities. For example, the final corner, that big hairpin, but also a lot of trouble zones. I can think about the start, for example, where you have the walls so close, and many S's and tight corners. It's going to be a tough triple header, that I think.
Yeah, I think I quite like Sonoma. I'm not even sure I own it on iRacing, but I remember it from the old PS4 days on P-Cars and whatever. And I think it was a good track. I quite liked it, so it'd be interesting to see what it's like with the V8 on iRacing. But look forward to every race, every track. It's it just takes a bit of practice to get used to, and that's all, which I don't mind doing in this car. So yeah, looking forward to it. It will definitely be. It's always intense. Doesn't matter what the track is. It's always intense in this series. So yeah, look forward to it.
Thank you very much, Johnny. Before we let you go, anyone you'd like to thank?
Well done to Foggy. 2 great wins. All my rest of my teammates for the help setting the car up, etc. You guys for doing the broadcast, and everyone that runs the series. Thanks very much, guys.
Thank you very much, Johnny, and catch you in a couple of weeks.
Look forward to it. Cheers, guys.
So next up, we'll have an interview with Tony Klosterman. And Tony, you'll be frustrated with that one, I imagine. Such a fantastic start in that race too, and then just take us through what in the end cost you maybe the race win.
Yeah, entering the pits, I hit the speed limiter, and then I hit it again and didn't realize it until I incurred the penalty. I thought I had it still on and had to sit there for 15 seconds. So I did a good job at throwing that away.
It was still a good comeback though, and that move on George McClay, it was bold, but it was very good, particularly the second kind of move that you tried. You got it absolutely stopped on a dime, and turned out to be a great move.
Yeah, the first one, I noticed the last couple of laps before that he was braking a lot earlier than I was. So the first chicane, it was a test, and then the second one, he braked early and moved, and I saw the car maybe get a little bit out of control. So I grabbed the opportunity there, and then I tried to make sure that there was enough space between us so we didn't touch. And looking at the replay, it looked okay, and went on from there. George said that he had to save some fuel after that anyway. So in the end, it would have resulted in the same finish, I think.
And near the end, you were really closing in on Michael Abdoka, of course, down to, I think it was just a couple of seconds near the end. That tyre strategy, it probably turned out to be the best way to go, because you really had some good tyres at the end of the race.
Yeah, tires were good. I don't know if Michael was maybe saving some gas at the end too, because in the last 2 laps I caught up almost 3 seconds. So I have to assume that he was trying to save some gas as well.
Of course, next up we head to Sonoma for the Super Sprints. You won, I believe, one of the Super Sprints last time at Tsukuba. Of course, very different circuit at Sonoma. One that you got much experience in the V8.
Yeah, lots of laps at Sonoma. It's a track I love going to. It's a difficult track just because of the surface. The pavement's not very grippy, and I suspect that the afternoon session in any sort of heat is going to be very, very difficult for everyone.
Yeah, absolutely. Will be great fun to watch that one. And before we let you go, Tony, any shout outs you'd like to give?
KSW Painting for sponsoring the league, Never Quit Racing, and Simability D4 Pet Services for looking after our team. Teammates did an awesome job this week working on setups, so shout out to them. And obviously, you guys, you always do such a great job, and we enjoy watching the televised replay afterwards. Thanks.
Thanks, Tony. And we'll see you in a couple of weeks.
Take care.
So I think one last interview, Marco, with Harold Stadler.
Honestly, I
Exactly. Another driver that I rudely interrupted mid-sentence while he was speaking to his colleagues down below. Harald Stadler is having quite a nice rookie season in this championship with some very, very consistent results. Today, 10th place in race 1, and then in race 2, 6th place. So it seems like, I don't know if you had previous experience with this car, Harald, but you seem to get more and more confident as the season is going on.
Yeah, that's right. I really like this car, but to be honest, I haven't driven it seriously in iRacing. So my last experience with the V8 was I just looked at it. It was about 10 years ago with GTR2, the simulation back then. So it's quite a long time, but I really like this car, and yeah, it's getting better and better.
How was it today to manage, a racetrack like this, very narrow with many chicanes and not many passing opportunities?
Oh, yeah, that was quite hard, I had to say. In race 1, I had an accident right at the start. Two guys crashed into each other, and I tried to pass them on the left side, and one of them came across the track. So I had a lot of opportunities to test the overtaking spots in Zolder after that. Yeah, it's actually you can't pass if the guy in front does not make a mistake. The straights are too short and the track is too narrow. The corners, even in the braking zones, in the hard braking zones, there are tight chicanes where you can't go side by side. So yeah, you have to wait till the guy in front makes the mistake.
And in a couple of weeks, we will be in Sonoma. From what we have been hearing from the drivers, not many of them are very familiar with the track. How about you?
I'm not familiar too. I did a couple of races in my 10 years in iRacing, or 8 years in iRacing. So, but it's not a track which is used so often. So, yeah, I don't have any big experience here in Sonoma.
Well, thank you very much, Harald. Before we let you go, anyone you'd like to thank?
Yeah, of course. I want to thank the organizers of this Super League. That's really fun here and a really nice bunch of guys. And of course, Apex Racing TV for having me here and for the broadcast. Yeah.
Thank you very much, Harald, and we will catch you, I think, in a couple of weeks.
Thank you, and see you in 2 weeks. Bye-bye.
Well, I think that pretty much rounds us off for the evening. And we've already talked about how fantastic this race was, Marco. But let's look forward, as we have with a few of the drivers, about Sonoma. Back to the super sprints. Extremely rare that we get a driver winning multiple races on an evening in a super sprint race. I think only once in the past 5 super sprint meetings has that occurred. So with how competitive the field was today, it's difficult to pick those race winners next time.
I mean, I think it's going to be another fantastic round. The unpredictability of the super sprint races is what makes them unique, and it can sometimes end up in at least one of them being a bit chaotic, and also the reverses, because I think, if I'm not mistaken, race 3 will be a full reverse no matter what, so your wish will be finally granted, Sam, of a big reverse. So we've seen in the past drivers having problems in race 2 going for a pit stop, fast repair, and trying to stay on the lead lap and getting a good starting position for race 3. It's going to be super tough to have a repeat winner all 3 races, but also a guy that wins 2 races will be very, very, very tough.
Yeah, definitely. You do not want to miss it. Back in a couple of weeks' time for races 13, 14, and 15 of the season. We're certainly in the second half of the season, I believe now, of season 6 of the UV8 Supercar Series. And should be absolutely fantastic, this run to the finish. Championship ever so close, and super competitive, just as you have seen today. Of course, on Apex Racing TV coming up, nothing tomorrow, unfortunately, but on Wednesday we'll have the World GT Championship. That'll be an endurance race from Daytona, I believe. We'll also have the Masters on as well. And then late at night, then we'll have the Rick Motek Sports Car Series. And then on Tuesday, we'll have the Masters again. On Wednesday, we'll have the iRacing Le Mans Series and the World F3 Championship. And then on Thursday, we'll have the Sim Racers World GT Series, along with the media day of the BSRTC Pro Series. That will be fantastic fun in the Kias. And then, of course, yeah, in a couple of weeks' time, you'll be back with us at Sonoma for the Super Sprints in the KSW Painting UV8 Supercar Series. But for now, from me and from Marco as well, we'll say goodbye and we'll see you next time.